And hello, welcome to the What the Hell Everything podcast with Smitty. I am he, and we are here together for the first time in a long time. This is the first time, it's been a while since I have done a solo podcast. Been a while since the end of season 1 of the Smartman Show podcast with Brian and Nate. That will be coming back at some point. But this is a status update. It's going to be about work ethic. It's going to be about perseverance, why this podcast is now becoming or going back to hobby status, and it's about perseverance and knowing when to pull triggers and knowing when to call it a day on certain things. It's been a journey. You know, if you're listening or watching this podcast and you have no idea what the journey was intended to be, as most people that follow this shit know, I quit radio in 2021, decided to bet on myself and chase a huge bucket list. And that was to build this podcast to sustainable standards and or sustainable means, and hopefully get it to the point where this could be my job. And along the way, hopefully raise money for the big bucket list trip that I wanted to do, to go to Ireland for a year to tell the story of Irish history, pub to pub, town to town. The struggles have been well documented. And now that it's going back to hobby status, anybody that follows deserves to know why. Anybody that supported me deserves to know why. I feel like, there's all kinds of people that invested time and money into this journey, and taking the time to listen to podcasts, taking the time to check the videos out. That stuff means so much to me. There's never, not for 1 second, I hope nobody thinks that I don't appreciate all of the support, because quite the opposite. I started this thing in 2021 with full vigor, with several podcasts, and all the struggles that are well documented with the moves, losing the house, I had to move out of the apartment, et cetera, displaced, and finally got the spot I'm in now. And the last year or so, I really tried to kick it into high gear. The consistency, I tried to up the consistency. I tried a few different ideas with podcasts. And, like anything you try to do, especially if you're new to it, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to get the success. It's going to be hard to get the attention. And I've gotten some. I'm at 4,600 subscribers to the YouTube page. It is a successful monetized channel. But I still just couldn't get the support that I needed to do this Irish trip. I recently came under the realization that that wasn't going to happen. And some of it is my fault. I'm not great at research, and I'm discovering why lately. It's not because I'm a stupid, terrible human. That was what I thought for the longest time. But really just discovering more about myself and learning more about the neurodivergence, which I've spoken on before, and the probable autism, and almost certainly ADHD. I'm pretty sure those two overlap a little bit. And the problems I have with research mostly have to do with when I historically, when I sit down to try to do something new, if it's super confusing or too many details, I go, and I fucking step back away from it, and I don't really follow through. But one thing that this whole journey has taught me is that I am capable of learning so much, and I am capable of doing all kinds of shit I never expected to do. I fucking started this podcast with zero idea how to do an internet show, how to edit video. I had a good working knowledge of how to edit sound, and that helped me a little bit. But I mean, just The amount that I've grown and learned over these last 4 years has been fucking awesome. But, realizing that the problems that I have with like research, like for instance, talking about this Irish trip, it requires, the visa options for a year require you to make enough money, something like $40,000. Now, the initial plan was to raise that money. That was my goal. That was the number that I had it in mind, $40,000. Now, when I planned this trip out, I'm like, the last year, I'm going to get the whole visa things taken care of. The last year of leading to Ireland, I'll just do that. I'll do my visa stuff then. And I go online to do it, and I'm like, oh, you have to. It is a requirement. I like all kinds of people that I've told this story to already, just in person. The few people, they're as dumbfounded as I am. I'm like, oh, you just can't go over there and just wander around. You got to be able to prove you can support yourself. It's not going to let some schmuck come to their beautiful island and walking around, begging for change or whatever. And I understand why, Now there's all sorts of like options, or there's other options for me to do this podcast, and I am not quitting this dream. It's still a dream, and it's still a huge goal, but I just have to do it a little bit differently. If I can raise the money, awesome. If I can do it on like 90-day spurts here and there, Now the thing is that I had to take another job. I was working waiting tables, and it was a necessity at the time when I took this job because it was great money, and I needed a single job to sustain me as much as possible so I could spend all the time possible when I'm not at work to do this podcast. And that kind of dried up, and I said, okay. When I realized that this Irish pubcast was not going to happen as intended, first of all, it stung, but it was way less devastating than I thought it would be. And I credit that to my mental health growth that I've had over the last, specifically, several years. And, I remember 10 years ago now, I turned 40, and my birthday's at the end of the year. And I hit 40, and then it was New Year's Eve, and I did my New Year's resolution, which has remained the same since then. And my New Year's resolution was just to get better. And I've told a couple people that before. And they said, well, get better at what? Let's get better at everything. And that included my mental health. I credit weed. I say it a lot, medical marijuana. That's helped me kind of break through a lot of the anxieties that I have, and to see through my anxieties and to kind of delve into my own brain and see what's going around in there. And it's just progressively over the last 10 years, I've made so much fucking progress. And I'm really so proud of myself. Because when I realized I couldn't go to Ireland for a year like I wanted to do, I just said, okay, well, we have to figure out something else to do. But that included changing jobs, and I found a great job, and it requires a lot of my time. So I said, okay, well, I need to give this other job its full attention rather than just going to work where I was at the last place waiting tables. You just go to work, do your thing, come home. It requires a lot less thought and effort. And this new job requires thought and effort. And I love it. I love the job. And I love giving it the same amount of work ethic that I initially gave this podcast. Work ethic is a big thing, too, with me. And just at a young age, super young, growing up, working with dad, laying block, doing brick and masonry work. As a kid, I remember I had to be out cutting wood at like 10 or 11 years old, cutting wood in the middle of winter. And just from there, just realizing that, I I didn't think I was talented. So let's stress that. I didn't think I was talented growing up at all. And I was just like, I got to just work harder than everybody at every job I try to do. And especially a job that I love. I go in there with the attitude to be the best employee that they have. And I hate to make it sound like the old man saying these kids ain't got no goddamn work ethic anymore. But man, there's something fucked up right now in this world. And I don't know what to attribute it to, because I'm one of those guys that, empathizes with a lot of people that don't want to do certain jobs anymore. Maybe wait tables, maybe do service shit, maybe you name it. The lower paying jobs that people are not applying for anymore. People aren't sending resumes to these jobs anymore. I was talking to my boss at my new job, and we were just talking about the lack of applicants that we get in. And I happen to work with a lot of international workers from Honduras. And occasionally, I've heard it said, especially in the United States of America, that, why are you hiring foreigners? Again, because we see the applicants that are coming through, and there's not any. Nobody are applying for these jobs, and it just fucking baffles me, because again, I empathize with not wanting to do some of these jobs, and after COVID especially, where none of the places around here in northern Michigan are open 24 hours anymore. None of them are staying open late. Everybody closes super fucking early. Everybody's understaffed, and I wonder where all the workers went, because I feel like probably the people who are doing those jobs, especially before COVID, just kind of realized in northern Michigan especially, where it's such a tourist area, and it's like many areas, has pushed low-wage workers out in the name of Airbnbs and fucking high-dollar places, and real estate's going through the roof. So nobody can afford to do these jobs anymore. So that's one aspect. But so many times I'm just like, and the applicants that you get at a lot of these jobs now are substandard workers. There's no other way around it, man. There's no hustle. There's no work ethic. And I don't really know what to attribute that to. I feel like there's definitely something to like entitled Americans. I don't know how American-centric that is. But, I mean, there has to be something to, the old saying where you want your kids to do better than you, which is a great fucking idea, right? You want your kids to succeed, obviously. You want your kids to have it better than you. You have a generation that has their kid do less than them, maybe around the house or getting jobs or putting off getting your driver's license or something like that a little bit longer. Then the next generation has you wait a little bit longer. And okay, maybe you don't need to work and we'll just get you a car. And then the next generation, you don't have to do fucking shit. That's my stupid version of that. But there is definitely something to the lack of work ethic in these United States of America, and it fucking baffles me. But the work ethic thing has really just been sticking with me, because I put so much work ethic into this podcast with planning and production and recording and editing and uploading and thinking and planning and figuring out why did I fuck this up? What when I say a second full-time job, that's what it has been time-wise and mentally. I didn't make shit monetarily for it, and that's okay. But, I just put so much into it. And I realized especially once the Irish pubcast wasn't happening in its original plan for a year. Again, I would love to do it again, or I would love to just do it at some point, not do it again. But once I realized that that wasn't going to happen and I was getting another job, I said, everything has to change. And that's what has been really tough to do, because my mental state the last 4 years has been good, surprisingly optimistic through all of the fucking dick punches. But my entire life view, everything that I've been thinking about for the last 4 years has to change. Because if I'm not in this room, this studio, doing content or writing something or recording something or editing or planning or something, I am like, I have such a fucking guilt trip. I give myself such a guilt trip about it. And why aren't you doing something? Why aren't you doing something? And there's just always this need. If I'm not doing content, why the fuck are you not doing content? You should be doing something. And that has been pervasive in my brain for the last 4 years. And I've been at this new job now for a month. And I've finally gotten to the place. It's taken me a solid 2 months to get out of that mindset. You know, I've been at this job for a month, but I knew I was leaving my job close to 2 months ago and knew I was changing everything close to 2 months ago. And it's taken me about that long to just change my entire mindset, which, I mean, you think about how hard that is. It's the same as like a relationship. It's the same as a marriage or something like that, just all of a sudden falling apart. And every goal that you had, everything you had talked about, everything you had wanted to do, all of your goals are now done. And you're like, how the fuck do I move on? And in a way, it's probably going to sound weird, but like, you know, my idea of this podcast is if I don't have to do it, it becomes more fun and it becomes more hobby. Like seriously, I've tried to record this podcast like 10 times. And I'm like, God, I have probably still a guilt trip that I'm calling it quits on this thing. But I just couldn't get my thoughts together. Again, I've tried to record this podcast like 10 times. And now I feel like I've finally gotten to the place where I'm comfortable enough making this podcast a hobby. And again, it's going to sound weird probably, but this podcast as a hobby probably will mean more podcasts because if I'm doing it as a creative outlet and keeping it to that. Like, yeah, of course, I have grand visions of this thing succeeding at some point, and I can do this for the rest of my life. But until that point, and even hopefully up until that point, I just maintain this sort of like hobby sort of vibe because it's been, or it needs to be that vibe. And, you know, I still have all sorts of grand visions again about, I love doing this creative shit. I have a season 2 of the Smartman Show podcast with Brian and Nate coming up soon. It'll drop. And I have all sorts of other ideas that I want to do. There's like, that's the beautiful thing about the internet and YouTube. I have like anonymous ideas where I just create a YouTube page and fuck around and nobody knows it's me and just see what you can do. Things like that. You know, I have writing projects that I am, you know, halfway through, kind of partway through on some of them, and I just keep doing it a little bit at a time, and, you know, and it makes me fucking happy. I was talking to a buddy of mine about my job change, and they said, man, you deserve to be happy. And I said, dude, I am happy, man. I am surprisingly happy. Most of the time, I have my shit moments, man, and I talk about my mental health a lot, but, you know, I have maintained this positivity the entire time, and that hasn't changed. But what is going to change, a few things, especially because this podcast is still going to happen, but I'm getting rid of my Patreon page because... And I may create another one at some point, but everybody that's on that Patreon, you know, has been with me through this whole thing. And I feel kind of awful about it because I remember when I left the morning show 4 years ago I had like a kind of complete mental breakdown, and it was mostly due to the fact that I just felt like, this new morning show, this new project, and everything was riding on it, and I was uh, feeling like everybody was counting on me. And when I bailed by my own free will, I all of a sudden, it just was like a flood of emotion came out of me, and I realized how seriously I was taking it. Now, I am taking this podcast very seriously too, but I'm talking specifically about the patrons and people who have actually spent money to support me along the way. Man, that's something I feel very strongly about, is how much I care about those people. The friends of mine when I started it that came on and have spent $3 a month for the last 4 years. It's not a lot of money, but it's a lot, man. There's times that shit has helped me keep the lights on. It hasn't been much, but it's been enough sometimes. And that's, it's meant so much to me. I will never, ever, ever take it for granted. Everybody that has supported me with the music reactions that I do, the podcast stuff, I mean, it's been huge. And I seriously love every single one of you. But the Patreon is going to go away. If I have another project, I might start it for another project. But as far as that Patreon, that's going to go away. And I'm deleting my social medias. Everything except for YouTube I'm keeping. I debated on keeping a couple. But my grand plan of this year-long Irish pubcast hike, I was like, you know what? When I'm done with this goddamn thing, I'm going to delete my socials because I just hate them. I hate them. Like, yeah, occasionally you see some great information. But again, I'm still going to be on YouTube. I can see most things. And I'm not going to have a lack of information or anything like that. People will still tell me what's going on. But, I mean, man, I really don't see almost literally one single thing that's good about it. From the way people talk to each other, I can't tell you how much I'm over memes, I'm just like meme culture. People getting their news from memes. The comment section, it is full of dumbass motherfuckers. And I've said this before, and I've posted this before. It's a Facebook post that I share every year when it pops up on memories. That's another reason why I hate going through Facebook memories. That's the thing too. Well, you're gonna miss all the fucking things you had, and you can't go back and look at it. I got a memory, bitch. Unless I get Alzheimer's, then if I do, I'm not gonna know who those people on fucking memories are anyway. But I just going back through memories and checking all that stuff, and then you remember feeling it creeps up on you exactly how you were. If you were in a terrible mental state, you're going through a breakup or whatever, you remember exactly how you feel. And I don't really like that shit. Going through the memories, the comment section, the stupid fucking posts, the echo chamber politics that everybody is in right now. Social media is fucking killing us. Not to mention the fact that, how much information they steal. You want to get the real evil part of it. And I just want no part of it anymore. I want to remove myself from the grid. So if this podcast gets published, which it should, by the time it's out, my socials will be gone forever. McTang likes to make fun of me because I deleted my socials before, just my Facebook. And he was right. He's like, you only lasted 8 hours. You're not going to fucking make it. And I'm like, dude, it's different this time. I was deleting it for a little bit to see how it felt, I think. And now I know. Now I know. I love talking to people the old fucking fashioned way, man. Don't call me. I know that's old fashioned, but still don't call me. You could text me, that's fine. But I hate how connected we are. Like, in a way, it's great. In a way, it's fantastic how fast information travels, but we are so goddamn connected. Where, how many, I don't hate getting messages. I hate feeling like I have to answer right away. I keep my phone down a lot. And if I pick it up and see I have messages, I don't even see who it is. I just fucking close them out because I don't give a shit, which is terrible of me to fucking say, probably. And then I get back to it and I answer. And then as soon as you put your phone down, ding, they fucking answer back. It's like, what are you doing? I remember 20 whatever years ago, even as long as, when the fuck did I start getting on socials? And I don't even really count that until I got it on my phone, because I had socials on the computer for a while, like Facebook and MySpace. And then when did I start getting on it? Probably 2011, late 2010, maybe I started having it. So from before then, I was still a perfectly happy human, man. Social media has not made me happy in one way, shape, or form, especially lately. All I do now is get on that motherfucker and I catch myself scrolling and looking at nothing. I'm just thinking about something else and I'm scrolling through the fucking thing for a second and I close it out. I'm like, nope. So socials are going to be deleted. I'm just going to keep my YouTube page. I think Brian, a.k.a. Cartman, will have his socials go. If you're checking out the Smartman Show podcast, he still got his socials. But look, you can message on the YouTubes. If you know me and you got my number, you can text me. That's fucking fine, man. But I'm still going to keep this podcast going on the socials, or excuse me, on the YouTubes. And then, of course, the your preferred audio podcast subscriber. So all sorts of things are going on. Just not what I intended, and that's okay. And there's people that'll hear this, and there's people that'll feel sorry for me. Please fucking don't. And I'm going to tell you why. It's going to sound cliche. It's going to sound cheesy to some. But these last 4 years have helped me find myself as the siren goes off outside. As if a sign from God. Somebody give me a Bible. What was I talking about? These last 4 years have been like college for me. I hate the term YouTuber because I think there's a negative connotation to that to some people sometime. But to me, it is the most brilliant fucking outlet to program stuff. That's all I've wanted since I learned how to edit, was to make fucking videos and shit. And I finally learned how. I learned so much about algorithms. I learned so much about programming on YouTube. I learned so much about all of this. And I love it. I love that I did this. I love that I spent the time and the stress and the effort and the energy that I did on this goddamn thing. I created something. I created an audience, albeit small. I found my confidence. I found my self-esteem. And that's huge for me. And I'm going to continue to use those things because now I can't live without them. The realization that I need to do creative things and that I need to have projects are never going to leave me. And if you want to stick around, you know where I am. If the Irish trip happens in some other way, shape, or form, which again is still a goal, I would love to make it happen if I can, then it will. And I'll put the word out here on the YouTubes. If you're not familiar with how the YouTube thing works, click the notification bell and tell YouTube when you want to see content from me. Subscribe to the page, see when I post more. And, you'll see those things. You don't need social media to know what's going on. So that's it. This is your update. There will be other content coming soon. I'm not going to say when because I don't know when. There will be, at least in the planning stages of season 2 for the Smartman Show podcast with Brian and Nate. So stay tuned for that if you're into that kind of thing. And then, of course, on this channel, music reactions whenever I feel like I want to do one. Like I do have a Biffy Clyro album reaction I can't wait for in the next month or so. And, you know, it's back to a hobby, guys. It's back to a hobby. I am removing the stress. I am removing the the obsession, because when I say I was obsessed with it, trust me, that is true. So that's it. That's the podcast today. Hetfield and I. Hetfield is my co-pilot, by the way. And if you're checking out the video, there's an ape with headphones on. It's modeled after the Banksy painting, and I named him once, and I never told anybody, but his name is Hetfield, and he rides with me through space as we talk shit. So that is it. That's the status update today. I couldn't feel better about things, and I hope you guys feel good about it, and you want to follow me along whenever I drop stuff. You know where to find me, honey. That's it for me. Thanks a lot.
So long, sucker.
Good night, everybody!
I am so sorry for everything that has happened.
Neat. Bye-bye.
Yeah, alright, I'll see you guys there. By the bar and get your face, huh? Get me paid, bitch!
Sit, boo-boo, sit. Good dog.
I love y'all very much! Peace out!
Good night, ladies.
What the hell, everything?